This video shows you how to make a cool steam vent tamer in the late game when you have access to things like thermium and supercoolant. Had no idea how awesome this thing was going to turn out when I started. Let me tell you, we have been undervaluing cool steam vents. So this build is self-powered and has tremendous cooling capacity. You can cool the steam that comes out of the vent down to ice. In fact, you can cool it down to ice at like negative 100 degrees. If you want to do something else with the coal, you could liquefy hydrogen. So I picked out this cool steam vent. Strategy is going to be to put the steam through a steam turbine, to cool it down and generate power. It's 4.3 kilograms per second, so I need 3 steam turbines to process that much. And making kind of there's a room down here for the steam and a room up here for the steam turbines. See if I counted it out right. Oh, good. So the first thing that we need is a cooling loop. I'm going to make a aqua tuner. Actually, I'm going to make 2 aqua tuners, one there and one there, one on each side. And then I'll put in some pipes for a cooling loop that will contain supercoolant. I'm making all of this out of space age materials. It's insulation and thermium and stuff. It's not necessary to use such advanced materials for all of it. I'm putting in a cooling loop. It will carry supercoolant around this way through the chamber that has the steam turbines so that they stay cool, and out this way to do stuff for cooling. I'm just gonna put it way over here so that we can use the cooling for whatever we want. In this case, I'm going to, in order to demonstrate the cooling capacity of this build, I'm going to turn the steam into ice. Each steam turbine can output 2 kilograms per second, so I want to have 6 pipes going through here with 1 kilogram each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you have only 1 kilogram per second of liquid going through a pipe, then state changes don't happen in the pipe, so you don't have to worry about breaking the pipe. So the output from these steam turbines will go over to these valves, and these valves will break them up into 1 kilogram per second pipes. I have to type all this in manually. Like there's a copy button, but it doesn't work unless you restart. I'll start out these pipes with a little bit of insulated, and so 1 kilogram per second will move through these pipes through a room full of hydrogen that's chilled by the cooling loop and come out the bottom. At that point, the water will be cold enough to freeze into ice, and when it falls out of these vents, it will freeze. And I'll put a little platform down here so that we can have a look at the, I'll close that up, so that we can have a look at the ice as it falls out. So normally you'd probably want to wire this into your regular power grid. I'm going to use a heavy watt wire because this is a self-powered build, so I want to demonstrate that it is actually self-powered by using just one internal circuit, and that's it, and it needs to be higher than 2,000 watts. So the easiest thing to do for me is just to use a one single heavy watt wire. I'm going to put some joint plates there and there, and it's important to me to keep the hot area out of the cold area. I'm going to put another joint plate there, and I'll tell you why in a second. So the way to do that, the way that I like to do that, is we'll just do something like this, and we'll make sure that the space in here is a vacuum, so that now temperatures can't move through that space, and so the cold area won't travel into the hot area and stuff. Okay, so I'll just connect all those together, and the reason why I put this other joint plate in is so I can connect some batteries. Batteries are another thing you probably won't want to add, in your own base just for this. Like I said, you're better off just wiring it into your regular power grid, however you prefer to do that. But since this is an isolated circuit in a self-powered build, I want to do it this way. I'm gonna put this that way. All right, now everything's connected together. This area down here is going to get very hot, and I want to put more water into it in order to cool it down and generate more steam so that I can generate more power. And I'm going to do that on the right and the left side. So I'm going to put a liquid vent. Where should I put that? I could put it up here. Yeah, actually that works pretty well. I'm going to try putting it up here in these corners. Oh yeah, it'll fit there. Sweet. I have a liquid shut-off that goes up towards it. like that. And down at the bottom, I will have a temperature automation, a thermosensor to control it. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Okay, now the place that water comes from, I want to use the water that's already fairly hot that's coming out of the steam turbines. Take this one out right here, and I'll make it go under this other pipe. Like that, through the shutoff and up to the liquid vent. Yeah, that's good. And one for the other side as well. Right there. And I'll route it down this way into the shutoff and then into the valve. Okay, and what'll happen is when the room gets too hot, then I'll open the valve and put some water into the room. And I'm doing it in the corners because they tend to be the hottest place in the steam room. Let me do the automation that we need. We need to control the shutoffs, and I want to keep the steam room at 200 degrees. So if this gets above 200 degrees, then it'll let some water in. Above 200 degrees. All right. The other automation I need is something to turn the aqua tuners on and off. That'll work. I'm going to do that using a battery. So I need a NOT gate there. That'll control the aqua tuners so that they turn on and off at the same time, and they don't thrash when there's not really enough power. So when the battery gets to 50% full, they'll turn on, and I want to keep a little in there in the battery so the shutoffs keep working even when they're not running, even when the aqua tuners are not running. So let's put it, I'm sure 2% is good enough. I think that's everything. I'm going to use the sandbox to take all the crap out of this room to make sure it's only steam in there. You'll have to learn how to evacuate a room of all the gases yourself if you don't know how already. And I'm going to fill the steam turbine room up with hydrogen so it can keep the steam turbines cool. I need to fill the cooling loop, which is this thing, up with supercoolant. I can use the sandbox just to make some supercoolant. And I'll put the supercoolant in so that it's fairly hot. I don't want you to think I'm cheating. Around like 220 or something in Celsius. Let's see, 226. And I'll use that to insert supercoolant right in there. We also need power just to get it started. We need to run the aqua tuners until this room gets warmed up well enough that that it becomes self-powered. If there's something else that I missed, I'm going to put some temp shift plates in the steam room, and the idea is just to keep everything all the same temperature in there, which is fairly important for this. I'm going to put 2 whole rows that go all the way across. That should do a pretty good job of, put it there. Yeah, that'll do a good job of keeping everything about the same temperature. I have power set up from some hydrogen generators in my base so that the build can get started under external power. That's what this cable coming into the build is. My liquid shutoffs need power as well, but that's an easy thing. Just like that for one, and like that for the other. Fabulous. Let's start this up, and we'll see if I forgot anything. Oh, I did forget something. So I'm going to fill hydrogen. So the room full that we're going to use, that's going to be full of coolant to cool the water down to ice. I'm going to fill that full of hydrogen. I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to put it in there hot. Like, what did I do the other one? 500 Kelvin, which should be about 220 degrees. I'm doing it especially hot so it doesn't look like I'm cheating by putting in cold hydrogen to make it look like this build cools stuff really well. And I put hydrogen behind this. Oh, I know what's happening. So the coolant loop is full of hot supercoolant right now, and it's so hot that it's making my steam turbines overheat. So I'm going to have to do something about that. Actually, maybe not. I think my aqua tuners will cool that down fast enough that it won't matter. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Right, so let's watch this as it gets started up. The water that's in here is evaporating, making the room full of steam, and warming up warming up the temp shift plates and everything in the steam room. And once that's warmed up enough and the steam turbines start to run, which they're almost cooled down far enough to start up, then we can disconnect the external power. There we go. I see the cool steam vent is also erupting. We're probably not quite ready to disconnect the external power. Yeah, we can do it. Alright, so as you can see, it starts up very quickly. We don't need much external power to get it going. Let me look at the temperatures in here and see if they're what I expect. It should be just a bit under 200 degrees. The whole thing is running on internal power now, and I'm starting to think that I might need to add an aqua tuner so that I can use all of the power that this is making. So we can watch this run and talk philosophy for a minute. So what this does is, well, it's not that complicated. Essentially, it's aqua tuners underneath steam turbines, which is something everybody has done, right, in order to cool stuff. The interesting thing about this situation, and it took me a long time to figure out why this worked, if you just put a little bit of, actually, I'll tell you exactly how much, 1.8 kilograms per second of steam at 110 degrees into the steam room with 2 aqua tuners underneath 3 steam turbines, then you achieve a perpetual machine. Assuming that you continue putting the steam in there, you will generate enough power to drive the aqua tuners, and it can just run forever. And so perpetual machines usually aren't useful for anything. They don't do anything. They just keep spinning. But this one has a side effect, and the side effect is it cools stuff off because the aqua tuners are cooling the supercoolant. I bet that our water, the water that comes out of the steam turbines and then goes over here to be cooled, I bet it's already it's already ice over here. So negative 100 degrees. So its cooling capacity is massive, and it's because we sort of create this perpetual machine. The thing I'm worried about with the batteries is if they get max out, then I'm wasting energy. If that starts to happen in this particular build with this particular geyser, then I might put another aqua tuner in here so that I can soak up that power. Anyway, so you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's awesome. I could use this to make, to generate power. And you can, a little. But it turns out that if you try to do that, you get like almost nothing. So this particular one is 4.3 kilograms per second. So I bet you might get 250 watts of power out of this while it's erupting, which is like nothing. Like, it's not even worth the effort. So you could get, if you set this up to optimize the power output, you get basically nothing. But if you set it up to optimize the cooling, then you get just tremendous cooling. Right now the hydrogen in here is down to negative 150. If I were to reverse the direction of this loop so that it went up into the steam turbines first before it had a chance to get warmed up over here, it would liquefy the hydrogen and then freeze it, and then there'd be nothing to keep these steam turbines cool, and they would overheat. You want the steam in this room to stay about 200 degrees. If it goes higher than that, then the steam turbines will still eat all of the steam, but they won't. Their power output will be maxed out, so they won't be able to produce more power, even though the steam is hotter. So you're wasting energy if that happens. But if you add more water to the steam room and that water becomes steam and absorbs some of all that extra heat that's just building up in here like crazy, then you have 200 degree steam, which can drive the steam turbine close to its full capacity, and well, you have more of it, so you still get all of the power. Another way you could go is to go ahead and let the steam get really hot, and then try to harvest. Oh, we're liquefying the hydrogen. This one's too powerful. I don't know. I got to do something in order to keep the supercoolant from getting so cold that it's liquefying everything. Alright, I have to figure out how to stop this from freezing everything. It's running off nothing but this cool steam vent, and yet I'm liquefying hydrogen on accident. It's awesome. You should definitely make one of these. This is a sandbox game. There's nothing out here for me to cool. I'm just going to use the sandbox to cheese something for the sake of the demo. I'm going to put some radiant pipes right in here. Oh, I'm super disappointed. You know what this means? It means I'm not going to get to, I'm not going to see how cold the ice can get. Negative 40 degrees, negative 35. That'll do. That should stop us from liquefying all the hydrogen. I was talking about steam turbines, right? So, yeah, that's right. Another way you could go with this is just let this get very hot, which it will get very hot. In order to keep the steam turbines from being inefficient, you have to block ports on them so that they don't eat as much steam, but they can take advantage of the hotter steam. And when you do that, you don't process steam fast enough, so you have to make more steam turbines. In one of my experiments for this, I tried to do it that way, and I ended up with like, you know, 14 steam turbines all arranged in a crazy way, trying to get the steam and everything. So something just happened that I should talk about. So the cool steam vent stopped. Okay, so the aqua tuners used up all the power and they stopped. So it looks like nothing's happening. The cool steam vent will, when it comes back on, all of the stuff in here is still very hot, like 200 degrees. So the steam that comes out of this cool steam vent will immediately get hot and start going through the steam turbines, which will generate power and everything will start up again. So when you see this, it's not a mistake. It's done that way on purpose. It's just idle. There we go. So the steam vent started up again. The steam got hot from the plates. The steam turbines are generating power, so the aqua tuners come on and everything is rolling just like it was before. All of that powered by nothing but a cool steam vent. Oh, I know, more philosophy. So another obvious question here is, what's the point of the cool steam vent? I can heat water up to 110 degrees, and you're completely right. Do it. The cool steam vent produces steam at 110 degrees, but it doesn't have to be that hot in order to reach that equilibrium, the perpetual machine equilibrium. I think the cutoff is 103. So if you put stuff in there that's about 103 degrees, then you can run it as a perpetual machine. It probably doesn't run well at that temperature. Yeah, I would love to see this with a volcano instead of a cool steam vent. It's just I really wanted to demonstrate the point of it by using something that is thought of as not a powerful thing, not a big deal. Well, unless it's like a mega base, one of these are like cool most people's bases. If you want to see an efficient cool steam vent tamer like this one, but meant for earlier in the game, that was my previous video. But I mean, you need plastic to build it. But every cool steam vent is different, and for one that has less than 6 kilograms per second, then the 3 steam turbines will work great. If you got a really good one that has, well, more than that, then you'll probably have to make more steam turbines, and because you're generating more power, you might have to put some more aqua tuners down here in the steam room. If you have a really strong steam vent, like 9 kilograms or 10 kilograms or something, you might have to make the steam room another tile or 2 higher in order to prevent it from being overpressure. Also, when that happens, you're going to have to accommodate 2 more steam turbines as well. Talk about is whether or not this is an exploit, and I would say it's not. Putting aqua tuners underneath steam turbines is a pretty standard thing for generating cold stuff. Really, all that's happened is we've underestimated how much energy comes from a cool steam vent. So I would say it's not an exploit, but I don't know. Maybe they want to nerf steam vents. I don't know. We'll see. It may be best to just wire all of this stuff into your base the exact same way you would anything else. But that actually presents a problem because the way it's set up now, the aqua tuners just run until the batteries are out of power. That way it reuses all of the power that it generates in order to make more coldness. You probably don't want the aqua tuners to just run non-stop. If they're wired into the rest of your power in your base, then they will. Of course, that would generate cold, and this is a perfectly reasonable way to do that if that's something you need in your base anyway, but you might want to to choke them somehow. And one way to do that is, let's see, so you can't use the batteries to control them anymore. So one way to do that is just put a thermosensor like right here and say, all right, I just want the aqua tuners to run until this gets to be like 200 degrees, which is the temperature that we want to be in the steam room, about 200. So if this is below 200, then turn on the aqua tuners. You'll run into one little problem with that because these thermosensors over here add water to the room until the temperature is below 200, right? So you can't have the aqua tuner trying to make the room 200 while this makes the room less than 200. So if you just set these thermosensors to something a bit higher, like I set them to 205. I set them each to 205, then you can stop that problem. A side effect of this is you're not always going to you'll use a bit less power in the aqua tuners than are produced by the steam turbine. That's kind of good because that excess power will go into your base instead of being used in an inefficient way by the aqua tuners, but you don't get much for it. Like in my experiment, I experimented with this particular build and I only got like 84 watts doing it that way. Certainly you're still efficiently making use of the energy that comes from the cool steam vent. If you don't want to wire it into your base, then you could definitely use batteries like this. I don't think you need so many. I think you can get by with just two, and control the thermal aqua tuners using the battery just like I did in the demo.